From the Wall Street Journal, Putin tells U.S. he'll halt the war in exchange for eastern Ukraine. Let's see. Russian President Vladimir Putin presented the Trump administration this week with a sweeping proposal for a ceasefire in Ukraine, demanding major territorial concessions by Kiev and a push for global recognition of its claims in exchange for a halt to the fighting, according to European and Ukrainian officials. President Trump said Friday he would meet with Putin in Alaska on August 15th following Putin's proposal. He didn't provide additional information about the meeting or the exact location. The Kremlin didn't immediately respond to a request for comment. European officials expressed serious reservations about Putin's proposals, which would require that Ukraine hand over eastern Ukraine, a region known as the Donbas, without Russia committing to much other than stopping fighting. The offer, which Putin conveyed Wednesday to U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff in Moscow, set off a diplomatic scramble to get further clarity on details of the proposal. This is something that most people that have been watching the war in Ukraine kind of figured was going to happen. So I don't know that Putin, well, the news isn't really the actual news. It's Putin saying, making the remark that's actually the news. But this is something that, there's always been the assumption, or at least since Putin's advance was stopped, the assumption was he was going to take the Donbas, he was going to take the places that are predominantly Russian speaking, and he was going to say, okay, this is where I'll stop, because no one at all ever thought that Crimea was going back. Ever since 12 or 13, when he actually invaded Crimea and took Crimea, everyone has kind of been like, well, I guess Crimea is part of Russia now. And there are people that are like, no, especially those the fellas on X. They love to say, no, we're gonna kick Putin out of Crimea, and it's like, man, that ain't happening. Like, you're a clown if you think that. What are you gonna do? Like, how are you gonna get him out? I mean, is the U.S. gonna actually put troops in there? That's not gonna happen. That was never gonna happen. Right. So this is probably a best case scenario, and it's also what kind of people really thought was going to be the end game anyways. But if I understand correctly, some of the details that Putin wants is like, there will be no UN, or Ukraine will not enter into the UN. Mm-hmm. There will be no Western forces in Ukraine, which just kind of means that Putin's going to be like, all right, we'll stop fighting now until I feel like it again.
Right.
So, right. I mean, is it
$80 billion well spent? I mean, I guess, Angela, from your standpoint as a Democrat, like, I don't understand why the whole pro-Ukraine thing started. I really have no idea where that came from. And it's like all of a sudden it was like you're on one side or the other. It didn't make a lot of sense. Like, from your standpoint as a Democrat, like, why do you guys love Ukraine?
I don't know. This is not I'm not versed in this at all.
Okay.
I haven't been heavily.
But in your circles, did they have the flags in their profiles and stuff?
Some.
Why?
Yeah.
It's easy to answer.
Yeah.
It's easy to answer because it's Russia. It's Trump and Russia, the Russiagate. Anything against Russia does, they're going to hate their whole, no offense, but the Democratic Party side is going to hate, even no matter what, to do something good, do something bad. That's why day one, they instantly put their flags in their bio, because it's Russia, and they're told to hate Russia because of Russiagate.
Because Russia helped. Russia helped Donald Trump steal the election.
Yes.
So if you
facts.
If you are against Donald Trump, he's allied with Russia because he's a Putin puppet,
right?
Which is, it's not based in any kind of reality, but that's the narrative that the left loves.
I think that is the narrative. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, Elaad, what do you feel is the proper course of action? Do you think that this is what was always going to be the situation? Do you think that I don't think we can trust Russia personally, but what do you think?
So for President Putin, I think the Ukraine war is legacy defining. He wants to take a bigger chomp out of Ukraine that he's been able to. In the initial assault, he almost split Ukraine in half when he sent that long convoy to Kyiv. I don't know if you guys recall, but they definitely want a lot more territorial gains than this. And I don't think at the negotiating table is the way that Putin will be able to achieve this. Ukraine will not give up half their country without a fight, considering how much I think they've already fought for the eastern parts of Ukraine. And from Putin's strategy, if you guys have been paying attention, President Trump has been giving this guy a ton of different deadlines that he repeatedly just has to push back because Putin doesn't want to negotiate. He's leading Trump on. And I think President Trump actually knows that he's leading him on, and he just needs to allow him to do so because Trump needs to bite for more time because there's no serious solution to this, that it doesn't take a large amount of political capital that I don't think the president wants to expend right now in Russia. The administration right now has been trying to pivot to the Pacific. That's actually been the government's direction pretty much since Obama's pivot to the Pacific. And right now, a lot of people...
when you say pivot to the Pacific, you're talking about China and Taiwan.
China. So there's a lot of people in the administration who like generally talk about that issue as a top issue. Eldridge Colby is this one of the top guys in the DOJ or in the military, I believe. And then there's also Pete Hegseth, who's been known to talk about like the Pacific a lot. And they don't want to get bogged down in Russia and the type of investment that it would require to militarily remove Putin from Ukraine or stop him from advancing would be a lot. And it would be a kind of sinking of our treasury, our military treasure in Ukraine. So I think he's trying to balance all of this out. I do think it's also worth mentioning that President promised, I think it was originally on day one, that he would end the war in Russia and Ukraine, and he was unable to do so. He's been very successful in different parts of the world. Like I believe he's been very successful in the Middle East, despite people freaking out all the time about what he was doing here. But he campaigned on, I believe, reducing or no aid to Ukraine, and that's where the base seemed. But otherwise, I don't know why people wouldn't start calling President Trump a neocon once more, because he did allow a ton of arms to flow to Ukraine. Despite NATO paying for it, we're still sending a bunch of arms that Ukraine wouldn't be able to procure otherwise. I foresee us being much more involved, though, militarily once there isn't a diplomatic solution to this. Putin, again, is just leading the president on more and more. We're seeing secondary sanctions on India that aren't panning out exactly as the way that we planned. We were trying to sanction Russian oil. There's so many different elements to what's going on here. But
well, I mean, for sanctions to work, we need good partners, and Europe has not been a good partner when it comes
nor
to
have the Indians. They've been really screwing us over on immigration fraud. They've been screwing us over on global trade. They've been screwing us over on call centers, Twitter.
The fact that, Europe has been buying Russian oil for essentially the entirety of the Russian war in Ukraine.
I think they've dramatically reduced. I think the main buyers right now are China, India, and a couple of other small countries. And look, I do and don't blame India, because from their argument, the way they see it is that, hey, we're a bunch of poor Indians, and I have over a billion Indians who need access to cheap oil, and cheap oil from Russia's
literally burning dung is the option.
Exactly. So, we're telling them to live in squalor and not buy cheap Russian oil, but they are, in a sense, also, paying for the Russian economy to run, and it's a wartime economy, and they're just producing arms to attack Ukraine. I think we should keep our eyes on China.
So it's your sense.
I'm a big China guy. I care about Ukraine. I think we should send more arms and money to Ukraine, but our real eyes need to be on.
So it's your sense that there will be no meeting with President Putin?
No, there will be a meeting, but I don't think anything fruitful will come out of it.
So if the United States were to say, okay, we've convinced Kiev to your terms, right?
I think it's like a maximalist ask from Putin. Zelensky can't even come to the table. This is an insulting offer. Think of it from a Ukrainian perspective. How many lives you've just lost?
But does Ukraine
giving up a lot less?
Does Ukraine have the ability to say no? I mean, I know that it's an insulting offer. I understand what you're saying. But if the president says, look, you need to go and talk to him, you need to be here, or whatever the conditions are. I don't know what the White House thinks that the Ukrainian president's going to do. But if the White House, hypothetically, if the White House were to say, hey, you need to sit down and talk because you're losing 5,000 people a week or whatever, and we want this to stop, and you don't have the human capital to continue this, and NATO's not coming in, can he say no? Can Zelensky say no, Mr. President? I'm not going to?
I think this goes beyond Zelensky. I think this goes to the Ukrainian people. The Ukraine is still a democracy right now, and Ukrainians feel this way, and Zelensky is just representing them. Ukrainians want to fight for their country, and I think even if we stopped helping them, even with just Europeans' help, they would keep fighting against the Russians. These guys don't want to let their country fall. They've been under Soviet rule in the past, and I think their fight back is righteous, and they've actually been doing an extremely effective job at it. Also, at this point, I think it's worth noting, Russia's a much bigger country, but they're losing a lot more men because because they're on the offensive. And when you're on the offensive in war, you have to give up like a 3-to-1 ratio. It's a lot harder to attack conquer than it is to defend.
3-to-1 is correct when it comes to like
so
taking an entrenched position, but still,
Russia doesn't have endless stockpiles of weapons, and they
got some pretty big weapons though.
I'm like, I don't think
they got some pretty big.
If I'm a Russian, if I'm putting on my Russian neocon hat, I'm actually not. I'm like very sad and not impressed at all with my military gains on Ukraine. We're not able to subjugate Ukraine at all. Actually, if I'm a Russian military man, I'm like embarrassed by the gains that we've made, and they should have been able to end this in the first few weeks. That was Putin's original plan. By
Understood.
The way. That's what he wanted to do.
You realize, Russia's not sending their best stuff. Just so we're clear, and that's. I think you are right. I think Trump is in a position here because this whole thing was no new wars.
They're not sending their best stuff. Is Russia trying their hardest to take over Ukraine right now? Yes,
I have no idea.
Yes.
I'm just telling you. We've known for decades what kind of weapons they have. And that's where it gets really scary. You go back 20, 30 years, a nuclear war was a big fear for a lot of people, even in our country. Phil knows, we used to do drills for that stuff. Yeah. But the point I'm making is, with Trump, the position he's in, the whole no new wars and we got to end these wars, he's in a tough position here too, because the American people don't want these wars. We don't support these wars,
I don't think that I think the American people don't support sending
money,
Americans.
troops.
Well, definitely not Americans. I do think that I think that to Elaad's point earlier about where the money is coming from to pay for the arms, I think if you can sell the American people on Europe is paying American weapons manufacturers to manufacture weapons, and those are the weapons that are going to Ukraine, I think you could sell the American people on that because.
I don't know. Trump was brought in under the banner of, and we got to end these wars, these forever wars.
A lot of that was because of the financial aspect, right? Because the American people aren't doing the dying.
Yes.
Because okay. So now that's a whole different context that you're adding to it. So that's not what I'm talking about. Right. But the American people aren't doing the dying, right? The financing has been the problem. People are like, look, man, I can't even buy a house and we're spending all this money over in Russia or over in Ukraine trying to save Ukraine. I can't afford groceries, but we're spending all this money over in Ukraine. It was a financial argument that the American people were most compelled by. So if you can convince the American people, look, not only are we not paying for these weapons, but we have Russia or we have Europe paying for these weapons and they're being made in America. That means there are American jobs that are being, made. The money's going into American pockets to American people that work at these weapons manufacturers. And we're also putting a hurt onto our geopolitical enemies because Russia is a geopolitical enemy. Don't forget, just a couple of years back, there were Russians, the Wagner Group was fighting with Americans in Syria. There's a couple pretty famous engagements where U.S. Special Forces were fighting with Russian PMCs. Sure. And Americans, or at least Americans that pay attention, remember that. And they still look at Russia as an enemy. So I think that the American people could be sold on that if, just so long as it's not Americans that are paying for it.
Maybe. I understand what you're saying. It depends on which Americans you're asking. Nancy Pelosi, people that work at Lockheed Martin, sure.
Normies.
No, I'm talking about people in the industry making money on it. But I think, the average person on the street, should we be in wars? Do you support war? Should we be helping Israel? Should we be helping Ukraine? I think, personally, just based on my conversations with people and my relationships, people don't want, and that was a big thing Trump ran on. No, end the forever wars, no new wars, end the forever wars. So I don't know.
Sean, I think it's really easy to say. So what does that look like if we're just ending all the new wars right now? What does that mean? Leaving Ukraine, not sending any arms over to Ukraine, and then allowing them to take over as much of Ukraine as they'd like?
It's a great question. If it were up to me, yeah. It's not our war. It's not our fight. I get it. I understand the point you're making, and it sucks. Don't get me wrong, but why are we fighting it? It was Desert Storm.
I don't think we are.
It's like, why did we go into Iraq after 9/11? That made no sense. Like, there's a lot of stuff that we get taken advantage of. And people in the military, I've had a lot of people, friends that were in the military, they love going to war because they get paid triple time. You know what I mean? So yeah, there is like the economic standpoint of it, to Phil's point. But no, I think most people just don't see the benefits of war and like why people need to die.
Yeah, I think we need to be pretty clear here. We're not fighting this war. The Ukrainians are fighting this war. Ukrainians are dying. We are not paying a death toll. We are getting paid to send over weapons at this point. And also, like, I mean, I feel like it's such an easy, basic take. Like, yeah, war is bad, but war is happening, and like, what are you going to do about the war that is happening? How are you going to respond?
Why is it our job?
Because appeasing war only begets more war.
Why is it our job? Why is it America's job?
Well, like we also have,
the United States
we also have a
country that can.
No, because we have a NATO allyship with a bunch of European countries. So, like, what do you think our relationship with NATO should be? The president thinks we should increase our defense spending to 5% to make sure that we're the preeminent power. But you think we should what?
I mean, I'm just saying, like, Trump ran on ending the wars, ending forever wars, no new wars. I mean, are you noticing this in the White House? Has the message changed? You know, we have to start wars and we have to be involved in every war forever. I mean, is that the messaging now?
No, I think you just read into the president what you want to hear. I think the president ran on a lot of different things like peace through strength, and he ran on Iran never being able to get a nuclear weapon. I don't know if you were paying attention, and he's done.
I absolutely was paying attention.
Yeah, so he's abided by a lot of those promises. So
I'm still like up in the air as whether or not you're going to the White House. So we'll see.
What are you talking about?
Let's bring Angela into the.
I don't know. You must have not seen my recent scoops because I have a lot of videos.
Should we be in forever wars as a Democrat? Should we be in forever?
I mean,
wars?
I'm also not a war person, so I tend to agree with you. But I hear both of what you're saying. I think it's complicated. I don't have the answers, but I tend to not want to be in war, and I definitely would ask, have questions about why we're involved, or why we should be.
Was the argument that Trump was making when he was, campaigning, was that an argument based on economics? Or do you think that it was was an argument based on not being involved in war overall?
I don't know. What do you guys think? I'm not sure what his reasoning.
For me, like I said earlier, I think that it was an argument based on economics. I think the American people got behind it because of the fact that it was an argument based on economics. Most people were really hurting in the lead up to the election. People couldn't pay their bills, grocery prices, and they were just like coming off the shock of significant inflation for multiple years. And so they were just like, why are we giving these people money? Why are we giving these people money? Every time I heard an argument, it was a monetary argument. It was a financial argument. We shouldn't be spending money on these wars because we can't afford them. Why are we giving money to Israel? Why are we giving money to Ukraine? Those are the two big things. We shouldn't be spending our money on this, et cetera, et cetera. So if the argument can be made, look, Europe's paying for this stuff. Our NATO allies are paying for this stuff. They're sending us money. They're sending money to our weapons manufacturers, and our weapons manufacturers are sending weapons to Ukraine so the Ukrainians can defend themselves. I feel like that's an argument that the American people will say, all right, fine, I don't care. Because I understand your perspective, Sean, that, it's not our fight. It's not a fight the United States wants to be in. But the United States is not over there doing the dying. We do not have troops on the ground. I don't even believe the people that say that there's special forces on the ground. Maybe there are CIA operatives.
Sure.
Human intel and stuff like that, gathering information, but there's not special ops guys. Like those dudes are not there. They're legitimately not. Any Americans that are over there as privateers. They're volunteers. They went and they joined up because they actually want to fight because, whatever, they like war. But that doesn't mean that the American people are doing the actual dying. And that matters, right? If you're not paying for it and Americans aren't dying, most Americans are like, all right, well, I guess I'm going to go to work then.
Yeah.
They're going to be like, I don't care, whatever. My friend's kid isn't going to lose his legs.
Right.
And I'm not going to have to pay the taxes that are going to this. So what do I care? Right?
Yeah, but I mean, and when 9/11 did happen, and we did have boots on the ground in Iraq, a lot of sentiment around the country was, we don't, why are we there? Like, what's the point? Like,
I feel like that didn't really start until like 2008.
I'm just saying, like, and that became
it took some
biggest,
time.
Yeah,
and it was honestly, it was
a ground up movement from the people who were like, we're sick of this. Why are we in the same war constantly? Like we've been fighting with Russia for how long now? Like
Well, we haven't.
insane.
Okay,
It
so
like gets to
so
the
wait a
point
minute.
where you're just like-
You're conflating topics. We
I'm
haven't.
just saying war in general. Like,
But
people
we
get
haven't
sick
been
of it.
fighting with Russia. Like we have not been
No, I
in
understand,
combat.
but
with
they're always
Russia.
used as the boogeyman or whatever. And it's just like, people get kind of sick of the whole
Russia. Well, I mean, I get.
You know what I mean? Like, all we can do is war. It's like the Democrats. It's like all they can do is war.
We're the most. When you're the most powerful military in the world,
Yeah.
that's the thing that people are going to come to you and say, "Hey, we have this problem." Your allies are going to come to you and say, "Hey, we have this problem, and we want you to help us." Like that. Whether or not the American people get behind it, that is part of being the most powerful military in the world. Now, world policing, I agree. We shouldn't be the world police, but I think that there's a difference between being the world police, right? Taking the initiative to say that we're going to stop this and stop that, and then selecting which conflicts we're going to involve ourselves in. That's one thing.
Sure.
As opposed to when someone else says, "Hey, come help us. We're your ally," or we have good relations. Maybe they're not NATO nations or whatever, but they're like, we are an allied nation. We've had good relations. We do a lot of economic work together. We've got this issue, this military issue. Can you come help us? That's a different thing.
Sure.
And I think that whereas I would probably say most Americans don't make the distinction, but as far as like Washington goes, there's definitely a distinction in that.
It's a business of war.
I mean, I think that's what happens when you've got the biggest military on earth. War is part of the business. It's part of the business of being the biggest military on earth and also having the reserve currency.
Bold Lib, can I ask you, is war bad?
I mean, there's, obviously there's reasons why, people are fighting it.
Wow.
That's a good
That was
poll.
so
It's a good
insightful.
question for the chat. A poll chat.
Yeah.
Warhawk or
I mean, it's
I'm making
obviously
a joke.
Yeah,
It's a good-
No, I
It's a little bit
know.
more
It's obviously it's
complicated,
complicated, so there's not as simple. But I
It's the
hate
best
to see
offense.
people dying. I mean, I don't. That's the part I don't like about. Obviously, people.
Fair.
There's very strong reasons why people are doing it and putting their lives on the line. So yeah, of course it's a. Yeah.
For a bold lib, I'm surprised you don't love Ukraine. Bold libs love Ukraine, so it's
Yeah.
off brand for you. No, am I wrong? No, I'm still pretty certain this is like a 70-30, 80-20 issue.
People
just
are
among
always
Democrats.
asking those questions. So.
Thanks for checking out this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to watch the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Subscribe to this channel, and we will see you all there.